I'm not a fan of the phrase, but it's true. Do not assume that someone who looks like you has the same values and character as you do. In other words, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. It doesn't matter what their race, background, or culture is. If you need someone to speak on your behalf as a witness to what they saw regarding the workplace abuse against you, the likelihood is they'll probably say no. Get ready for it. Because they are being forced to go up against the company that feeds them. This is why we need to pass the Workplace Psychological Safety Act, because it provides for an independent investigation. So the company cannot investigate themselves. We know there's a conflict of interest. And it provides protection for the witnesses so they feel comfortable about speaking their truth. Now, I can forgive, but I will never forget. The true test of a friendship is, are they going to be there when the going gets rough? Will they be that ride or die? I know one thing about me. I am that chick. I'm that girl who was a ride or die. If you are hurting, I'm hurting. If I can do something to back you up and help you, you best believe I'm going to be there for you. That's how I've always been, will always be, and will never stop being that chick. Everybody deserves to work in a place free from workplace bullying, racism, discrimination, and any form of abuse. I sleep very well at night, knowing that I did the right thing for myself, but also for humanity. How are you sleeping?
This is the morning show for Black Press USA.
Good morning,
And
Stacy.
good morning, Niele.
All right, and good morning, Let It Be Known family and those tuning in. Let It Be Known is the place where we amplify Black voices and we bring you the headlines that uplift and uplift and empower the Black experience.
All right, so that video, come on, what you got for me on that video that she just showed?
It was interesting. Talked about friendship. It was
I'd
deep.
die.
Do you have a ride or die? I know you have a ride
Yes,
or die.
absolutely. I think I got a house full of them.
Oh, a house full. Who comes first? That's the big debate. Who comes first?
So I'm gonna tell you right now, my youngest daughter, listen, she is not playing when it comes to dad. So I think she will be the one who, hey, if you gonna come with a knife, she's bringing the AK.
Okay.
Come at dad with a knife, she's bringing the AK. You come at dad with the AK, she's bringing a tank.
Right. Well, and the video is talks about friendship and it also talks about workplace
Oh
abuse.
yeah, and
You
and and
know.
and, and this is I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. We're Lauren Burke this morning. This is what um the Me Too movement was supposed to have been about.
Hmm.
Workplace abuse, especially the women being um abused in the workplace, not just physically, sexually,
Right.
but emotionally and otherwise, because you can do more harm emotionally in a lot of cases than you can physically.
Yeah.
And women have gone through it. And look, let's face it, nowadays, and under this crazy world we live in, there's no more pretty much no more protections for women.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is.
so she
And
said
it's
in
this.
this case, I'm sorry, Neil, but she said this is a black woman in the newsroom.
Right, yeah. And it happens. I think about the newscaster over at CNN. She does the morning show. Her name is Sarah. She went through, when you look at this woman's story and then you look at Sarah over at CNN, she went through her whole cancer diagnosis, her chemotherapy, and her rehabilitation on air. And I really applaud CNN for allowing her that space to do that and to tell her story. Because I think a lot of people resonated with that story. But then you see stories like this, and it's like, it's not everywhere, it's just some places.
Yeah. I want to say this, because Orangey is, he typed this in too, and it's been since he typed it in, and it's been something I've thought about since yesterday when this story broke, um, about the leak of the White House's war plans.
So we're switching stories now. Okay. I gotta
Yeah,
follow you. You move fast sometimes, Stacy, and
yeah,
I'm like,
only
let me
because
follow this
that's
maze.
yeah, I'm totally ADHD, but um, yesterday it was revealed that Pete Hegseth, uh who is a former reporter. This is to show you now he's the head of the Department of Defense. Phew. A wrestling person is the head of education, etc. We can go on in the list, but he put on a internal thread
Mhm.
a news reporter
From the Atlantic.
from the Atlantic sharing this, and Orange is right. Imagine if General Brown, the one that the racist said was a DE&I hire,
Mhm.
with all of his um, qualifications, General
Right.
Lloyd Austin,
And it's
um,
tenured in the
yeah.
military. Mhm.
Imagine they would have done something like that.
They wouldn't have.
Now
They wouldn't have because they were
they wouldn't
qualified.
have. That's
Mhm.
right. They
Let's
qualified.
be clear. They wouldn't have.
Right. But let's also be real here. Was that a mistake?
It
Was that a
was.
mistake?
Yes, they're that dumb. They're idiots. Yes, it was
Okay.
a full mistake. You know why it was a mistake? Because they didn't even use the proper channels. Now, I am working on some projects that the team that I work with, they wanted us to use Signal because it's the thing down from what the military uses. Why are they on Signal? I mean, the
Mhm.
military and the government has certain channels for this type of conversation to be communicated on. They have
Yep.
those channels. Them on
But
signals is one step up from a text message.
right. But Hillary Clinton and her emails, everything, the whole this whole situation with this administration, it's really off the rails, and I just don't get um I just don't get the allowance of all of this. There's so much going on, and I just don't get how folks. I understand the businesses, the big billionaires, are they see their benefit, but can't they also see how the house of cards has got to fall on them too at some point?
Uh, this is the gift that keeps on giving because at first we thought it was going to be the leak conversation from JD Vance, right? There's an
Hmm.
alleged leak conversation with JD Vance talking about Elon Musk. So now you have
Yeah,
a
we saw
leaked
that.
now you have a leaked text message thread in JD Vance is slightly undermining the president in this text message thread as well. And
Yeah,
so today is going to be a day. Let's see what leaks out the White House today because I'm sure JD Vance is getting cussed out somewhere in a corner.
yeah.
This Pete guy, I don't know what they're going to do with him and it's just insane.
Yeah, well, here's what I gotta say. So you see all the stuff going on with Doge and the threats that Pam Bondi has made against Jasmine Crockett and those who dare to protest Tesla, the Social Security breaking down, his Trump taking away funding for cancer researchers and patients, removing the right to attorneys for children of deportees, um, and all of
Don't
this stuff we see. I mean, we can go on.
don't forget about the IRS now
The
granted
IRS.
permission to look at undocumented files and
Yep.
going ICE being able to go into use the IRS files to look into undocumented filings.
And now you're having law firms who are refusing to represent people uh, who are going against the administration. Trump's opponents, they can't find lawyers now. The lawyers are afraid. But here's what I had to say about all of that. We want to, if you're looking for a positive in all of that, is this that as you already articulated, the leak of the beef between JD Vance and Elon, this thing yesterday with Hesketh, there's a lot of internal strife there. They
Hmm.
they 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 hate each other too.
Hmm.
So, folks, do like as y'all have talked about before, like the 92% are doing. Sit back, sip your tea, try to weather this storm because it's going to pass.
And
I
pop your
never felt that
popcorn.
way. Right.
Pop your popcorn.
I have never felt that way before, but now I see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that they are they're not united. These people, they're united in trying to destroy people who look like us and women and stuff like that, but they're
Hmm.
not united uh in their like for each other. They have so much disdain for each other. And I can only imagine the disdain that so many of them, because they've expressed it in the past when they wasn't in Trump's cabinet, the disdain they have for Trump and the
Right.
disdain he must have for many of them. So
Right.
it's gonna eventually um
Well, no, not
crash out.
eventually. It's crashing out. It's happening now. It's not eventual. It's happening right now. We're talking about
Mhm.
it right now. The
Yeah,
crash and burn is happening right
yeah.
now.
So, switching gears right quick, Black History question of the day for you folks. Um, this is classically okay. This class, you want to do the question? You want me to do the question?
Well, I think we should set it up to let it be known viewers know that every day now, since Black History is they're trying to erase Black history, we're
Hmm.
going to continue to amplify what Black history is and the importance in the United States. So every day we're going to have Black History Pop Quiz. We're going to tease it out during the show, and whoever gets it, we're going to get an applause today
Applause.
and tomorrow. But we're working on something special. So just ride with us and just
Right.
test your pop quiz, Black History trivia. Okay, you could do the question now. How about
So here's the
that?
question, and we'll give the answer later, but we want you to put the answer in the chat, those who might know the answer. And if you don't know the answer, take a guess at it. This classically trained pianist and singer was monitored by the FBI for her radical politics. Once declared it was, quote, too slow to wait for freedom and tried to use her concert money to bankroll a Black Liberation Army. What? Who is she? That is our trivia question. We'll give the answer at the end. Um,
And let me tell you, I already got it wrong the first try, and I still don't know who it is. So I'm gonna take these clues, and I'm playing along with you.
Oh boy. So one more time, real quick. This classically trained pianist and singer was monitored by the FBI for her radical politics. Once declared it was, quote, too slow to wait for freedom and tried to use her concert money to bankroll a Black Liberation Army. Name her, folks.
I
So
have
I'm
another
seeing some
guess,
answers
but I'm gonna
already.
hold it.
So
I
yeah.
have a I have a
So
guess.
your first guess, I'm not gonna say what it was. Your first guess was a good, really good guess. Was
I
a
think
really good
so. I
yes.
think
So
so.
we're seeing some answers already, but pull your answers in the chat. We'll give the answer at the end. Um, I even see the name Lena Horne and Nina Simone up there, and et cetera, et cetera. But let's go. So in the news also now, here's another problem. Former Representative Cori Bush, her husband, is charged with wire fraud. Federal prosecutors have filed criminal charges against um, Courtney Merritt's, who is 46 years old. He's facing 2 counts of wire fraud for allegedly filing sham applications in 2020 and 2021 with the SBA, enabling him to collect money aimed at helping struggling businesses make payroll during the COVID-19 pandemic. The charges were filed by former chairman of the Missouri Republican Party, Ed Martin, who was appointed a DC U.S. attorney by Trump. Merritt's attorney told the St. Louis Public Radio that he intends to plead not guilty. But according to the indictment, he allegedly lied on applications and forged documents in order to receive a bigger loan from COVID-19 relief funds. So allegedly, prosecutors say he received a loan for $20,832 that was forgiven by the government. Um, Here's the thing.
What's the thing?
Here's the thing. So they are going after their enemies. Um, we've been hearing about PPP loans or PPD loans or whatever you call them in excess of 2, 3, $5 million, et cetera, et cetera. This is $20,000. Now, if he committed a crime or whatever, I'm not saying you just let it slide, but come on. It's so much stink on this that is ridiculous.
It's insane, and they're going after their enemies, and they're going after Black women. We know that they recently, the U.S. AG threatened Jasmine Crockett, and she's basically saying she's not going down. We know that within the past 2 days, Fonnie Willis's office was evacuated because of a powder substance. We know that Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton and a few others, security briefing, high qualified information was revoked. And so this is just an attack to your enemies, but it's also an attack on Black women and women at large. And it's just, like you say, buckle up, because as they're doing it to us, they're tearing each other and eating each other up on the inside. And
Yeah,
so how
and
this thing is going to play out, nobody knows. House of Cards.
yeah, House of Cards. I listen, I said it then. Folks was talking about, oh, if you're an independent contractor, you can get this loan. It's gonna be forgive. It's gonna be a loan that they're gonna forgive about. It's essentially free money. And I said it then, and most people I know say the same thing. There's no such thing as free money.
Well, it is for white folks like Donald
Not for
Trump
us,
and
right?
his
We
clan.
can't do what they do.
Let's be clear. It is free money. It just ain't for us.
Ain't for us. Ain't for us. Um, so we'll see, what happens there. Also, this morning, Trump, speaking of Trump, he's turning to his buddies on the Supreme Court. So this is where the rubber is going to meet the road once and for all to determine whether or not this is indeed a true dictatorship. The
Mm.
Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to block a ruling from a federal judge who ordered it to rehire thousands of fired federal workers. The ruling applied to workers who have been on probationary status, and it's just one of many that have stopped the administration's initiatives, and that has prompted Trump to seek the Supreme Court's intervention. So we know again that the Supreme Court is ostensibly in his pocket. So he has been biding his time to get to the Supreme Court, to get all this stuff moved to the Supreme Court. So here we are.
Do you think that Donald Trump is going to force any of the older Supreme Court justices to retire so he can replace them?
I'm sure he would prefer to get rid of the three liberals on the Supreme Court.
Well, he's not going to get rid of those, but
Right,
he could force
right,
the elder
right.
Republican
It, it,
justices out.
yeah, there's been a lot of talk about him doing just that. And my point is that it's not going to change the makeup right now, but to his thinking, I'm sure if you get the older ones off and get some younger ones in, that
This
means that this thing
it's the
lasts for
longevity.
decades and decades and decades.
It's about the
So
longevity.
RNG says Clarence Thomas is gone. I believe that too. I believe that he's the first one to go.
That's what I was getting
And
to. I think he's the
yeah,
first one to go because he's
yeah.
the most compromised.
Yeah, he is the most compromised. And I think if Amy Coney Barrett isn't careful, and she continues to go against Trump, she could find herself somehow. Because what I will never say, and I've been saying this since the beginning,
Mhm.
what Trump and his people cannot do. You can hold up the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and everything else. and say he can't, he can't, he can't. I will never say that until it's proven definitively that he was not able to do it.
Right.
And so Amy Coney Barrett would be in line to be somehow removed from that court, one way or another, because these people they are schemers to the nth degree, and if
Right.
they want to get it done,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get it done. So
Hmm.
that's where I stand on it. I'm seeing some more guesses, I should say. Ella Fitzgerald, Hazel Scott, Billie Holiday, all great guesses.
My
Somebody's gonna be
guess
right.
was my guess was Aretha Franklin, only because I had just saw a headline to defend myself because Stacy and Greer laughed at me, but I had a legitimate reason for saying the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Because there was
You
a
know,
headline that came out that said that for at least over 30 years, she was being investigated by the FBI during the civil rights era. So I thought it was Aretha Franklin, but I was wrong.
well, I laughed only because I thought you saw the answer and
Oh, no.
still gave the wrong answer. So I was like, I want to get on that bus with you. I would. Yeah,
Look, I ain't on
I,
no bus,
I want.
okay?
I wanted to
And
be able to be on that same bus so I could make fun. You got to make fun of people sometimes.
but there she is. Yeah, because the reason why I thought it because Aretha Franklin, as we all know, really contributed to the civil rights movement, and
Hmm.
so if they're did they release the Dr. King's files yet? The FBI files?
No,
Okay, so she was very close, and she bail him out of jail one time,
he probably did.
and she contributed to the movement in a lot of ways, and so. That was my guess, Aretha Franklin, but folks, I was wrong. And then you
So cross
said
cross Aretha Franklin off the board.
off the list, and then somebody in the chat said Nina Simone. Now that's my second guess. So whoever said Nina Simone, I'm with you. That's my second guess. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I haven't scrolled down to look at the answer, so I'm rolling with y'all.
Okay, so
Look,
for years, look at that. Aretha was no joke, was she?
I know what I'm talking about.
That's
Thank
not
you,
the
Greer.
answer.
It's not the answer, but it is a answer.
It is a answer. It
It
is
is
a
answer.
wrong answer.
Now let me ask you a question. Well, let me ask you a question, Stacy. Have you heard of the Lincoln Heights Safety Watch Program?
Yes, absolutely. In Illinois, right?
No. And
No,
you got one wrong today
I
too.
got I got it wrong.
Well, in Cincinnati, there's a
Ohio,
story. Yeah,
Ohio,
Cincinnati,
right?
Ohio, there's a story brewing about a majority Black town who starts their own armed protection group after a neo-Nazi rally that happened on February 7th. So our guest that's coming in, his name is Councilman Daronce Daniels. And so he is a part of this safety program, and he's going to tell us what's happening over in Lincoln Heights, Cincinnati. So let's bring him in,
I,
Greer.
well, I don't know that he's here yet.
Oh, he's not here yet.
No, he's late. He didn't
Oh,
get
I
the
saw
memo
a
to be
note
on
that said,
time.
guess. So that's the teaser. That's what we call a teaser.
That's what we call a
he's
teaser.
he's gonna come
I
on
was
in and
asking that what you saw was a question mark. I was asking Greer, had he arrived yet, and she said
oh,
no. She said
got it.
no. So, so we're looking forward to Councilman Daronce Daniels, but that Lincoln Heights thing, yeah. So we're gonna talk about that, hopefully very shortly. And Orangey says I have been following him. I love it. They are armed too. Yeah, I figured he would like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I understand. I really really understand. While we wait, let's get to some of your quickies then.
Oh, you want to jump into some quickies?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? I like them.
All right. So,
I
uh,
actually got one too. So, but go ahead.
so of course, Target, we know that Pastor Jamal Bryant and the Black Chamber of Commerce is pushing for a boycott. Well, we're in the process of a boycott during Lent season. And so Target has shut down the comments section on their TikTok as boycotts over DEI rollback continue. So the pressure is there, shutting
Yep.
off. And so protests do work, boycotts do work. And so let's keep the pressure on.
Keep it
Let's keep the
moving.
pressure on. Let's keep it
um,
moving.
yeah, yeah.
All
What
right.
else you got?
And then moving down to Louisiana, Lil Bootsy is being sued by the family of Caleb Wilson and the state
Uh-oh.
AG for
Oh.
using his name for scholarship purposes without his permission. So here's the story. Lil Bootsy's having a concert. He said that the proceeds would go towards a scholarship in the name of Caleb Wilson. The family thought that those proceeds would go to an already established scholarship for Caleb that they had established, but turns out Bootsy was starting his own thing. And the family was like, well, why are you doing that? Well, we have this
Mm.
and you could contribute to that. And so the AG is now involved. And so he's been threatened to either change the name of the concert, stop the conversation about you doing this scholarship, unless it is in connection with what the family has established. Do you think that's fair?
Absolutely. I think the family should have the final say there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And not even the final say, but how about you have your people, Bootsy, go and talk to the family and make
How
sure
about
that
you
what
go
you're
talk to
doing.
them?
Well, no, sometimes you have, I'm not even asking for him, but have
Right. No, I get it.
your team sets it up. Make sure that you are moving, or your team should be making sure you're moving in sync with what the family's wishes are and not just over here doing some isolated thing.
Yeah, because that, I mean, not that he's doing this, but on the face of it, it looks like a scam.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm
it
not
just,
accusing him of scamming them because I don't think that's what he's doing, but I'm just saying on the face of it, it looks like a scam. When you are not communicating with the family, you're saying you're doing this. Do they even know you?
right, right. And what it is, you want to make sure that you're saying that proceeds or partial part of the proceeds will go towards the family. But what is the part of the proceeds? If it's
Right.
5 or 2%, you're not doing nothing, bro.
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
percentage? But this is why a lot of artists get in trouble when they try to do social justice things and they don't have the right people around them making sure that they are making the right moves. This is
Yeah.
why artist development and having the right people around you is important when you decide to be a Aretha Franklin or Nina Simone.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Joni Toole is asking, are we on every weekday morning? Yes, we are, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. She says, I just found this show and I'm excited that it might be a regular thing. Joni, welcome. Dr.
Welcome.
Joni, welcome. It's good
Thank
to
you,
have another
Dr.
doctor in the
Joni.
house.
And tomorrow we'll ask you to tell a friend. Today, we just want you to enjoy. You don't have
Right,
to tell a
right.
friend today, tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow, I'll tell a friend.
All
What else
right.
you got there? What
So
else
here's
on the quickie?
here's good news. A 21-year-old Long Island man is the first person in New York history to be cured of sickle cell. Why is this
Nice.
important?
Wow.
Why is this important? Because African Americans are impacted by sickle cell the most. Why is this sad? Because we know that the Trump administration plan is rolling back and defunding so many programs within the CDC. And John Hopkins just cut so many employees because of lack of funding. And so this
Yep.
is a good story, but it is a story to pay attention to because, like I said, we're impacted the most by sickle cell. And if we don't have the right resources and funding, a lot of the research that goes into programs like this will no longer exist.
Wow, that is a great story, Neil.
Yeah, huge story.
So what I know that okay, you got something else for us.
Yeah, and so, March Madness, but I'm only talking about the
Wait,
girls.
not March Madness yet. What about Othello?
Oh, you wanna
Didn't you
talk
have
about
something on
Othello?
Othello?
No.
It
Othello got
opened up. It opened up
Othello
all the
got snatched.
superstars.
So let's
All the
but we can talk
superstars was
about
there.
Othello. But my next story before we
Oh,
get
okay.
to
I
our
got
guest.
one then.
Okay, so let me finish
Sure.
my last quickie and then
Oh, I'm sorry.
you
Go
can
ahead.
add your quickie.
All right, let's
So
do
the
that.
last quickie goes to March Madness. It was a lot happening with women's basketball. LSU advances. which means Fly J racks up another 100,000 in partnership with Experian
Right.
to bless some more families to be financially debt free. So that's huge. Shout out to Experian, LSU, and Fly J for this huge initiative. Juju Watkins,
Oh gosh.
my favorite.
Yes, she is. And we
She's
just was
out.
talking about her yesterday.
She's
Goodness
out
me.
for the rest of the season with the knee injury. So that just makes USC still did an awesome job. They did her proud last night, coming through with the strong win. But now, the odds for USC are looking slim without Juju Watkins. And we have to give it up to one of our favorite white girls, Paige Beckers, who played
Paige.
her. I love her. She played her last game last night at UConn, standing ovation. And now they're looking like they're going to be the contenders for the final game because they're doing an awesome job. And then, of course, Don Staley, we're still looking at her, as well as UCLA and other teams as we continue this March Madness. I don't know what's happening with the fellas. Maybe Stacy, you can chime in and
No, no,
give us a
I
total one.
listen, the dudes lost me a long time ago. But this whole thing with Juju Watkins is so disappointing. See, I know you saw the injury go down, but I was just saying to you yesterday, the other
Mhm.
day in the last game when she played through an injury, I thought it was ridiculous because they had that game in the bag. I thought the coach should have sat her. I know she wanted to play, but I just think that now you have a situation where any chance, and you had a decent chance, but any chance of winning the championship is done. Um, and that's a shame. This young lady, like you always call her, and she is every bit the Kobe Bryant of women's college basketball, and she was primed and ready to lead USC to a national championship, and USC cannot win without it. I think UCA what we'll see with USC now, Niele, I think that they will dig deep, win one more game, and then they'll be
Mhm.
done. I think they'll win the next game just on just on the premise of okay, this is for our girl.
I agree. I totally agree because they definitely stepped up the pace last night. Juju Watkins, we want to make sure that she has a complete recovery. And we know something like this similar happened to Paige Beckers, to
Hmm.
where she was out and she had to heal. And so we're just wishing Juju a speedy recovery. I know she's heartbroken because a lot of March Madness was based upon her name. And people were
Yeah.
too. My grandmother called me last night and she said, "What's that girl's name?" My grandmother's 94. She said, "What's her name? I'm going to check her out. After the Lakers go off, I want to watch." And she started watching Juju for the first time. In less than a first quarter, she's like, "Nene, she's
Yeah.
gone." She said, "But I like it. I like it."
Oh God, so it's real quick. Dr. Joni Toole says it's horrendous. The funding and health research supports that are being stripped
Mm.
from major universities and research centers. Absolutely. And speaking of doctors, um, we don't want to miss this one over the weekend, folks. This is Tuesday. We missed this. I missed this yesterday, but over the weekend, I did see this, but missed it yesterday. Cardi B explained one reason she hadn't dropped her second solo album yet, and it's a beauty of a reason. She had been studying all this time and has earned a doctorate of dental medicine, and she will graduate in May.
Is that
How
true?
about that? It is true.
Okay.
Yes. How about that? Now,
Are,
what some people have added to the story that she's going to open her own dental practice and stuff like that. That she has not said, but she has earned a doctorate of dental medicine, and she walks in May. Um,
where
and
did you?
she
Are,
posted
are,
a beautiful picture of her at I guess at school in her white coat and everything, and she uh she is doing some things. You didn't see that, huh?
we're gonna check on that because when we looked, we couldn't find Cardi B confirming none of that.
Cardi B tweeted was the first to tweet it, and I believe your folks over at the Grio also reported on it as well. But yes, she was the first to tweet it. She tweeted a picture of her and her dental coat and everything, and said that she was look up her act, and she it was just on Sunday, I believe, or Saturday or Sunday. She tweeted it or X'd it. Is it X'd or tweeted? Do we still say tweeted? But
Okay.
yes.
All
She
right.
said, See, folks don't believe because it's Cardi B. Greer says it's fake news just because it's Cardi. Listen, Cardi didn't come this
Yeah,
far
I
not
tend
to.
to I tend to believe I'm gonna sway with Greer. I don't think that's real news.
You don't think it's real news? I think
No.
so. I saw her tweet it. I saw Cardi tweet. So let's not try to take away from Cardi's accomplishments.
Well, she
Got
got
a
a lot of
bag.
accomplishments, but dentistry might not be one of
Yeah. What? Why you say that? Why y'all hating on her like that? She's a dentist now. She could be a dentist if she wants.
them. Hey. We will confirm that story. We are a credible news source, and we're not going to be
Yes,
putting that type of information out unless we verify it.
she
That
is a
don't have a
dentist.
blue check. That don't have a blue check.
Everybody got a blue check. They bought it. Our guest is here, Niele.
All right, so let's go to Councilman Daronce Daniels from Lincoln Heights, Ohio. Good morning, Council Member.
Good morning. Been sitting back enjoying the conversation you guys been having, but definitely good
Appreciate.
morning. How you all doing?
We are doing
Good morning.
well. We kind of teased our audience about the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program, which went into strong effect after what happened on February 7th. So can you give our Let It Be Known family a quick overview of what happened on February 7th and why you guys started to protect your town?
Yeah, so as you said before, Lincoln Heights is the first African American city above the Mason-Dixon line with a lot of tradition, a lot of pride, a lot of history. And on February 7th, we had a group of neo-Nazis who decided to come into our community, waving swastika flags, carrying long guns, calling some of our most respected members of our community, some business owners. Everybody knows that word, and it wasn't brother. It's another word that ended in ER. And they decided that was, what he needed to be called that day. All while even the police officers, our Hamilton County sheriffs, all sitting there and watching it. There's alleged, video as well too, that an individual got something thrown into his car from the Nazis. So these are the type of things that once we saw from a community standpoint, once they started getting spread around on social media, the community responded. And I would be remiss to mention that the first people to watch, the first people to witness it was our high school kids. These crazy fools decided to do this at 2:30 in the afternoon with the assistance, as I said before, it seems of our police department. But that's right when our kids get out of school. So right when our kids are getting out of school, they're seeing this crap. Our parents are seeing this crap. And like you said, the next thing you knew, our proud community said if the police won't make them leave, the community will. And that's what took place on February the 7th.
And when they came in, when these Nazis came in, was there any like law enforcement response at all?
I guess if you say if they were there, does that count as law enforcement response? If I'm on the basketball team and I just sit on the bench the whole time, I guess I'm still on the team, right? So that's essentially how that felt. You got a bunch of residents who, as you said before, we live here, pay taxes here, long tradition, I guess, of the pride here, and we felt that we had to take matters into our own hands. And even when doing that, you see the response of the police officers. Some of them even told us, you guys are doing the wrong thing. 2 of those folks were African Americans. We like, what the heck? Even if that had to do with anything, what the heck is that the conversation now? And and 2, how do you even know that? They all have masks on. So there's a lot of different questions that we had for both police departments that were there that day. But
Do you believe it? I'm sorry. Do you believe any of them were police officers? reason to believe. Let me
The
say it that way.
neo-Nazis? Do I believe
Yes,
they were police?
is there reason to believe that some of them may have been?
From the ones that were in mask, from the research that we done, not here in Ohio, but there's definitely I guess what's the term they would use? Probable cause to assume that this was something that was talked about in local bars. One of the bars that they was mentioned in the body camera is a place called Wooster Pike. So if you're ever in the Cincinnati area and you look like us, you may not want to go to Wooster Park, or you may want to, just head to that place. But that was a bar that they mentioned where some of these activities were discussed. You could definitely hear that the police department had a lot of information on these individuals before there was even an opportunity for real engagement with them. And the last thing was you see police officers who literally took them, escorted them to another local elementary school, allow these individuals kind of regroup. One of the police officers is telling them, hey, guy, maybe put your mask on, or, okay, maybe take your shirt off, but you can hop back in my car and we'll get your Jeep and your service dog. Like he's a bona fide Uber. And the craziest thing, I've never seen anybody ever get in the back of a police car not being patted down, not being searched in any type of way, no handcuffs. Just, hey man, let me give you a ride back to your service dog and your Jeep that you chose to bring in here and use as a tool for hate in our community. So those individuals as being identified as police officers that were actually with the mask on. No, but the scariest thing is that there might have been some police officers without a mask on. You know what I mean? That's the scary part. The ones that were not wearing a mask that seem to be aiding and abetting these Nazis.
You brought up mask, and now there's conversations about the safety program wearing masks as you guys patrol the city. How do you feel about them possibly putting an ordinance or a mandate for you guys to take your mask off?
I'll answer that in two ways. One, it's just usually the reaction to conservative colonizers. Anytime validated people choose to use their Second Amendment or any rights in America, it feels like that's when there needs to be an adjustment or something needs to be changed in the gun laws, right? Individuals can come in the black churches shooting up folks, right? Individuals can go in the homosexual nightclubs and shoot up folks. Individuals can go into Las Vegas and cause all types of chaos and terror, and no gun form, no changes at all. Black folks are responding to neo-Nazis coming into their community and don't want neo-Nazis to see them. And now we want to have a conversation of how we can alter that. So, that's my first stance on that. But secondly, when we talk about that, Ohio is a very, when they talk about purple states, it doesn't get much purple than Ohio, but a lot of that purple leans red. And we're talking about gun reform and gun changes. When it comes to the state legislator, not necessarily good luck, but I would like to see how that goes. And if some of those party lines and some of those alliances on this issue can come together and work to try to figure out how we can make some gun reform changes by saying that you can't wear a mask while carrying a long gun, then I wonder what other positive things we can create for the advancement of individuals and communities like we have in this community. There's no excuse at this point. Well, we won't be taking any excuses at this point that you're saying that you cannot get things done. You're saying you can't organize from a legislative standpoint in the state when you moved as swiftly and with bipartisan manner to achieve this. If this gets done, we will definitely be holding our state legislators a lot more accountable on things that are beneficial to our community that they can get done as well too.
I'm gonna go back to the community, and you guys were able to organize, as you said. Tell us a little bit about that community. Give us a little view inside of that particular community, and what made it. I don't want to say easy, but what made it possible to come together like that? Because you have to be pretty close knit. You would
Yeah,
think.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain to some individuals that's not here, right? And the best analogy I can give is that Lincoln Heights is truly like one of the biggest family reunions you ever been a part. And that's not hyperbole. I know I mentioned that we were the first African American community, but that was started by about 6 or 7 families that came here from Gainesville, Georgia. Now, those 6 or 7 families are now what Lincoln Heights is. We have a lot of historical pictures that you can see on the walls, but also in our innovation center as well, where my grandfather, individuals in our team's grandfathers, they're all together, and those pictures carry down. So when you ask the question about how the community was able to mobilize and organize so quickly, it's because we've already been doing that. This organization in the building that we're sitting in right now, the Heights Movement, is dedicated strictly around engaging, empowering, and inspiring our residents in the village of Lincoln Heights. We've done multiple of things, creating community farms because we had a food desert. As I said before, creating this space because we didn't have any meeting spaces. So when the word got around that neo-Nazis were in the community, our networking apparatus that we've already established and those type of platforms that we've already built, they took off like that. The biggest thing as well, too, is the aftermath of that, right? And when everybody in the community then came together and said, now, what are we going to do now? Because I know it may have seemed like those Nazis were out there for a long time, but in reality, they had about 10 minutes to unpack the U-Haul, walk about a good, a good little way, get on the bridge. And by the time they looked up, they saw the full force of Lincoln Heights, and they were ready to jump up out of there and apparently spray a police officer with bear spray. But that's another story for another day. But what our community decided is that after these individuals left, we said, if the sheriffs are not going to protect us, if even their police officers are going to protect them, how can we make sure our young people, our kids are safe by going to school? Because as we mentioned before, this started with these kids leaving school. And then the other thing that we want to decide is how do we make sure our seniors feel safe? Because our seniors need to feel safe because right across the street from where these fools did this mess, it's one of our senior homes. So that's what the community decided first. So we said, we're going to get up early in the morning, make sure our kids are good to go. And then from there, it has just slowly evolved where everybody has added a little bit more into the pot, right? It's like, hey, I can cook. I can make sure that not just the SAL team and our security team has meals, but I can make sure everybody in the community has meals. Says, hey, I can get the word out. I can send text messages out. I can send out emails to make sure not just the fact that somebody is coming in, but also letting folks know, hey, we have a meeting, or we have a program, or we have these opportunities. So the best thing that took place during February the 7th, and once again, the best thing that the community was able to do was have that tangible objective on what we're organizing around. Like in most family reunions, you got to have that theme. Like I said before, we're like a big old family reunion. Now the theme is not neo-Nazis for sure, but I think the theme is protecting and conserving an idea, because Lincoln Heights is not just a place; it's an idea that my grandfather, a multitude of grandfathers, our ancestors thought of as a safe haven for people that look like us. Because how often can we go somewhere where we truly control the government, where we can truly control our legislative dollars, when we truly control something that was built for us? How many places are like that in this country? So to protect that was extremely vital. And that's something that every individual in this community understands because their blood is in it. Right. And that's not hyperbole, that's real. And we experience that, and we speak about that every day here in this community.
And let's talk about the makeup. So you're a city council member, all Black city council, Black mayor. What are the conversations that are happening now in city council as we look at, you guys don't have a police department anymore. So what are the conversations around public safety for Lincoln Heights to sustain and protect the community?
I think the best thing that we're doing at this moment in time is being able to have constructive conversations, but also keep it about the progress moving forward, right? So I'll put it in this manner, is that there have been some maybe disagreements, and I don't even want to use that word just for the sake of the narrative, but there has been some conversations over how, why, and what's the best way to move about this police situation. I'll give an example. We have individuals in on our council who think that the best method is to work with the community and the individuals that cause harm to us. Now, this is something that also has been a narrative in our communities for history, where we feel like the winning strategy is to become those that have harmed us. And that's not everybody's, and that's not a majority of the feelings of individuals on council. Some folks feel that it's imperative, and this is the time now to bring back our local police force. And the reason why we lost in the first place, and once again, I don't want to bog down your listeners too much with that, but the reason we lost in the first place is because we lost our insurance due to some of our own police officers at the time putting their hands on folks in the village of Lincoln Heights. So now we're at a situation where we have a dedicated group of residents who are sacrificing their life, their time to protect this community. So why does the community not invest back in them to get them certified, get them trained, to become our next police force here in the community? Those are the 5-year plans, 5 to 10-year plans that we as a government body sometimes struggle with. Because, for me, I'm 38. I've been on council now for 8 years. The only guy, only male on council, the only person under the age of, and I don't want to age my other council members, but let's just say the only other council member that graduated in the 2000s and not in the 80s. I'll put it that way. So we have a lot of philosophical differences on how our community should move forward and how we should definitely move the platform of how we could be an example for a different community. So it's one of those situations where it's like, do you stick with the status quo, or do you truly move into a situation where you are bringing the power and the resources back to the residents who are doing the work now? Because once again, if you talk about our founders and our original founding, that's how that worked. It was a bunch of brothers in the community that was already here, that was already doing things, that said, this is the time for us to become our own police chiefs, our own fire chiefs. It's time to kind of take some of that energy back and rebuild this community.
Yeah, the community I've noticed has a very, very rich Black history. It was formed in 1923 for Black families escaping the South, incorporated in 1946 as the first African American self-governing community north of the Mason-Dixon line. And for many, and Councilman, you can speak to this, and I think you really have already, but you can underscore it some more, that this history plays a role in everybody's decision to add to their everyday duties as parents and workers.
And as you said before, the history behind it, and we also know the history behind it and why Lincoln Heights is even in the economic situation that it is right now. As you mentioned, Black folks have been living here since the 20s. And when we were living here in the 20s, we had a lot more land, and we were dedicated a lot more land than we have now. Some of that land that was dedicated to us where Black folks were living includes where GE Aviation sits right now. So when folks incorporated in 1938 for the first time, it was a lawsuit that was put up by multiple cities as well as our county that said that this Black community cannot have industrial lands, especially one that's going to be at the time Wright Aeronautical Plant. How can we provide that type of tax base to individuals that look like this? They won't know what to do with that. So that lawsuit took up and was held in court for over 8 years. And as my grandfather would say, he doesn't know anything that's been in court that long. So it was held up for 8 years. And when they came out of it, Lincoln Heights was carved up like a little teacup, taking out 90% of our land, only left with residential. So if and I don't want to once again, assume or I'm not insulting any of your listeners, but if you don't know anything about government resources, if all you're living off of is residential income, then you're setting yourself up to fail. You need both that your income tax, your business tax is important, as well as your property tax. These are things that make a strong community, especially in the beginning. So what the community had to do was make some more tough choices. Do we remove and make some of our residents leave by building industrial lands in this community? And that's where you're getting the urban renewal and things of that nature. The community has taken a lot of different blows, brother and sister, because during the 70s, Lincoln Heights was the second wealthiest African-American community in the whole country. Like I said, a lot of folks worked at GE. We had a lot of mom and pop stores here in the community. But then when you had the trade bill in the 70s, we're talking about federal policies now. The trade bill in the 70s took a lot of those jobs overseas. So when a lot of those jobs went overseas, you lost a lot of your mom and pops. Then you had the crack epidemic in the 80s. Someone's gonna say another government policy that then poisoned. I can't put on the percentage of the individuals that have poisoned in our community. And then from that point, you have the crime bill in the 90s, another government policy. 2008, we have our housing crisis. You hit COVID in 2020. So it's about every 10 years, our community has to kind of take a little bit of a blow. But every time we do that, though, we seem to stand up a little bit stronger. Now, I think over these last two blows we've taken, the housing crisis, the COVID situation, and Trump 1, now Trump 2, what has that allowed us to do is truly identify tangible objectives that are trying to tear our community down that we can now organize around and truly push back against. During Trump 1, it was really a mysterious kind of voodoo type of thing, nothing to really put your hands on. But when you have individuals in neo-Nazi suits showing up at your front door saying that they're emboldened by the fact that President Trump is letting individuals out for climbing on top of the Capitol like it's a playground set, we realize that this is a different time that we're living in. So I hope that answers your question on just the overall pride and the history and connectivity of this community. But you have individuals, and once again, that in our community, you have folks that obviously as young as 0 and then as old as close to 100. That's a lot of history there. So you got individuals that are seeing people that have, they've done some crazy things at the Capitol, as I say, climbing on the walls, but they also seen the Black Panthers peacefully and legally protest in a Capitol that caused true gun reform. So these are the conversations that we're having with our seniors and our elders as to these are some of the mistakes, these are some of the steps that were taken to stop movements in the past. But how can we now make the adjustments? How can we make sure that we're aggressive when we need to be aggressive? We are moving cautiously when we need to be cautiously, and we're definitely moving as a unit to make sure that we have a true opportunity for folks in Lincoln Heights to achieve everything they want to do. Our biggest thing is that we feel like folks in our communities don't feel the confidence to be free. They have that fear of being free. We want to eliminate every ounce of that in this community, and hopefully that then spreads out to the rest of the country as well too.
Let's talk about, before we let you go, some of the makeup of the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program. What's the program like? Without giving too much intel, but what is like the day-to-day program like overview?
So just an overall day-to-day, what we do here, as I said in the Heights, we do a lot of things. But if you're just talking about the individuals who are part of the Safety and Watch, it's everybody in the community. It's not just those that have their CCWs and who are legally caring. Those individuals are part of it as well, but that's a small group. It's also your grandmother who gets up in the morning, turns on her porch light, and makes sure the kids are getting to school okay. It's also the dad who's dropping her daughter off at another school, coming back in the community to make sure that the kids in this community are walking home safe. It's the other individuals as well too. So you got moms that are driving through the community that's making sure kids are safe. So I know what the media shows is the part that's sensationalized when a Black man is carrying a gun and saying that he wants to protect his community. Now that is a part of it. The part that they're missing is the individuals who've never hung out before now look forward to seeing each other on that community block because they know they have a mission of protecting their community without any guns, without any violence, but the simple mission of knowing that these kids who are about to walk up here look forward to seeing them now. Because they're providing that sense of safety and security and hope for them. That is not just, and for them, and when you ask some of these kids, it wasn't even about February 7th. It was more so that, hey, these folks keep showing up for me. Like think what that does for a kid beyond some Nazi crap. That every day when I walk to school, these Black men and these Black women are showing up for me. That's what's happening in our community right now. So the day-to-day process, and I know you wanted to talk on that on the SOL program, that's what we do. But on an overall day, we make sure the kids get to school for okay. Then we have another group that comes in who does a lot of our day-to-day logistics. So that's sending out emails, that's getting replies back from individuals who said they want to get involved and things of that nature. That's checking our calendar, and that's making sure all our meetings are lined up. That's the first part of the day. In the afternoon, it's usually time that we're getting into the farm. As we said before, we have our own community farm and getting folks out there in the farm before we hit that 2 to 3 o'clock window when kids are coming back into school. Coming back home from school. Now, once kids get back home from school, it's a little bit of an after school program. We have a few of them here. Ours deals with a little bit more of the high school kids. We have another center that we partner with, St. Monica's, that deals with our younger school kids. And then at that point, once we get to about 7:30, there's some type of adult programming that goes on. So whether it's financial literacy, whether we're dealing with our government and laws, which is a piece that we picked up here recently so that everybody knows not just what laws they have, but what laws that our law enforcement cannot use against you or can't use against you. Saturday is dedicated more so to that safety and watch team training. But like I said, we do farm training. We just did a training with the Department of Justice as well too. So that's pretty much our day where making sure the kids are safe during the day, handling logistics in the mid-morning to afternoon. The lunchtime is pretty much in the farm, kids home, after school programs, and then adult programs during the day. That's pretty much how we get down and how we're structured. But the biggest thing throughout all that, no matter if you're an adult, no matter if you're a kid, what we don't do is that we don't ask people, hey man, what is it that you want to do? What job you want? That's not how, or how can you fit yourself in? That's not how we move. What we ask everybody is to identify a problem and how do you see yourself, or how can we solve that problem together, and how can we empower you to solve that problem? And that's how we felt that we've been able to really keep our residents engaged in the process, because now everybody feels like they have a stake in the game. It's not that mentality of, well, what you gonna do? And you the leader, what can you do for me? I know it's more so, what can we do for each other? And how can I help you, empower you? And that's what we're really moving on here in Lincoln Heights. And that's our day-to-day operations.
Well, we really appreciate you, Councilman Daronce Daniels, for bringing all of this information to the Black Press this morning. That is fantastic what you guys are doing. And I think it could be a model for Black communities nationwide.
Very strong and empowering. Very strong and empowering.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Well, appreciate you. And again, thanks for joining us this morning. And we'll certainly be keeping in touch.
Yeah,
no problem. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Let's keep praying for Juju, man. That was tough yesterday. Let's keep.
Thank you. Yes.
Gotta pray for Juju. It's tough.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole team. Yeah, the whole team was here watching it last night, so it was tough for everybody. The whole party kind of just, yeah.
I know. It's like, what are we excited for this weekend? I guess Don Staley. We will.
Yeah. We got it. Yeah, give Don our love. But thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right.
Take care. He had to get in his Juju comments.
Everybody's heartbroken.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
what
exactly.
An empowering story.
It is. It really is. Like I said, it could be, perhaps should be a model for Black communities everywhere, because that's awesome. That's what they mean, Niele, when they say it takes a village.
Man, I mean, and you know what? I wanted to ask him, but not now. But I would vote for him. I wonder, does he have any future political ambitions? Because that is the leadership. But I don't really want him to go to Congress because it would be a waste. So I think he's where he's supposed to be right now. But in the future, I would vote for him. Most
Yeah,
definitely.
you can't now. He's in
No,
Ohio.
can't now. We need him
No.
where he is right
They
now.
will lock you up if you vote for him right now.
Hey, you know, my ancestors, they got arrested. I'm willing. I'm willing. Just have my bail money. I need the Black Press USA to have my bail money.
Uh-oh. Don't worry, Orangey has it under the mattress. He'll look out for you. It's under the mattress. So, who is losing the black card today? I have a candidate. I don't know if you came up with a candidate or Greer came up with a candidate. I do have a candidate. And
You take it today. I'll
you
think
want me to
about, we'll
take it?
see what happens today, and I'll take tomorrow.
All right. And maybe y'all in the chat can put in who might deserve to lose their black card today. I have my candidate is a guy named David Brinson. Well, I know nobody really knows him, and he probably should have lost his card a long time ago. But David Brinson is serving life in prison in California. And because he was deemed to be a model prisoner, he is allowed conjugal visits with his wife, where incredibly, she can stay in a private section, an apartment like section of the prison with him for 24 hours, almost unsupervised. Well, this is where he loses the black card. On the last visit, David Brinson allegedly strangled his wife, Stephanie Dowles, to death. Last summer, Tanya Thomas, who was 47 years old, was also strangled during a family visit where she was visiting her domestic partner, Anthony Curry, who was serving a life sentence. This is in the same prison for second-degree murder with intentionally discharging a firearm causing great bodily harm. He was also sentenced to 13 years for carjacking with an enhancement of using a firearm and now charged with murder in Thomas's death. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation website says some incarcerated people are eligible for family visits, which occur in private apartment-like facilities on prison grounds and last for 30 to 40 hours. The visits are intended to support positive family connections and successful rehabilitation. Death row inmates and people convicted of sex offenses are excluded, as is anyone under disciplinary restrictions. But this guy, you are serving life. You are in a facility, a maximum security facility with all men. The only whiff of a woman you might get is with a guard that you might see from afar, or might
Or a
lead you,
doctor or a
or a
dentist.
doctor, right? Or right. And this guy decides to use his 24, 30-hour alone time away from all of the whatever that goes on in prison with his wife. There's nothing she could have said, done, or anything else during that time visit that could have led to him wanting. What in the world? How do they let this happen? And this is the second time it happened within a year.
That somebody was murdered in a conjugal visit?
Yes, you don't pay attention. I
I
told you I
do
should have been
pay
in your class.
attention. You know, sometimes I'm
I should have went to
producing
school with
too.
you. I know.
Hey, I'm producing
Yes.
too.
Tanya
Wow.
Thomas.
I thought this was the first one. I thought this was the first
No, it
one. I'm
happened
sorry.
last July. Tanya Thomas was strangled to death by her domestic partner, Anthony Curry.
Was he in there for life too?
He was also serving life.
Yeah, see,
Yes.
this is what I think that's the problem. That's what I wanted to get to. That's the problem. Lifers with no possibility of parole should
Have
not
nothing
have
to lose.
conjugal visits. Like that I mean, duh. I mean, come on, Warden.
Let me tell you something. If I'm serving life and my wife is coming to visit me, the only doctor that's going to be needed is some sort of gynecologist doctor or something like that afterwards.
No, no, no,
I
no.
mean,
If
give me
you
a
do
break.
not, if you don't have the possibility of parole, you have nothing to lose.
I get it. Now he can't have conjugal visits for the
Well,
rest of his
okay,
life.
I mean, we're talking about okay, you're stuck on sex. But what I'm saying is,
No,
if
it's
you
not
have
just sex. It's not just
If you
it's that
have,
male to
if
female
no,
interaction,
no,
that
no. Okay, well,
husband-wife
you could do
interaction.
that in the visiting room. But if you, this has proven,
Mhm.
sorry, folks, without the
Right.
possibility of parole, these two gentlemen have just took away your conjugal visits. Because what that says to me is, if you
They gotta
have
stop,
the
yeah.
possibility
Mhm.
of no parole and you're a lifer, you can't handle, you can't handle it. You can't handle it. So just wardens, Governor Newsom, commission for prisons in California,
Yeah.
uh, no more. No more conjugal visits if they have no possibility of parole and they're in there for the rest of their lives. Just forget about it.
Oh my gosh.
Forget about it.
Dr. Toole says that I agree that this could be part of a rehab program, but in for life with no possibility of parole gives them zero incentive to be rehabilitated. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because it says
Common
right
sense. That's common
zero.
sense. That's common sense. Okay. What do we have to think about? What are we thinking about here?
Yeah, listen, I was surprised when I saw that too, the fact that he's in for life with no possibility of parole. I agree with you on that one. How do you allow unsupervised visit, period, let alone conjugal visits? He's in for life without and this guy's in for 3 murders too. Three murders he's in for life for. And
Well,
you leave him
yeah, I would assume that if you're in there for life without the possibility of parole, there's some type of murder attached to it, some type of
right.
heinous crime.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Unless it's like an elected official or something, but some type of heinous crime to where there's no rehabilitative quality within you.
Yeah.
So
And so
why
why
would you
grant him
let,
this right?
yeah, a private
Yeah. Now
weekend.
they say that supposedly um the guards randomly but not often check in on the apartment or whatever they stay in. Um but come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Cuz they don't want to have cameras in the room or nothing like that cuz they know
Right, right, right,
that
right.
et cetera, et cetera. But my gosh, this is awful. This is awful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Take his black
this
card, snatch it.
Gris says that would be the death of me. I won't even get a parking ticket. You got that right. Listen, I understand that they this is not something to laugh about. I'm laughing because I'm thinking
No, it's
about it crazy, but I knew some prison guards or corrections officers, if you will, who when I would talk to them, like on the phone or whatever, and I say, okay, I'm hanging up. They don't want you to say I'm hanging up. You know why? Because when an inmate says I'm hanging up, that means that they're actually committing suicide. They're gonna hang themselves, right?
mhm.
Um, um, so I say that to say that, yeah, Greer, I'd be hanging up. Oh my god, but yes, take his don't just take his black card, take his human card. This is where you can understand this is justifiable for the death penalty.
I don't believe in the death penalty. I don't think. I'm still on the fence about it, but I mean, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I
Well,
just they just keep put. I mean, just
I'm a mhm,
leave him in there. Just no
yeah.
more visits
Yeah.
for him.
No
No
more
more
visits.
visits.
Okay. I'm
No
pretty
more.
sure that
You know.
he can't get married again, so he's done. He's done.
Well, it can't.
Um
He can't. He can get married.
I,
He just can't have conjugal visits. They
so
can't
I
stop
thought
him
the
from getting
rules.
married.
Right, right. I'm sure the rules are that's what I was getting at too. The rules are that if you marry going in, but if you're married while in prison, you cannot have conjugal visits still.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that part.
Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere in the California thing, but nonetheless, I mean I could be wrong, but it doesn't matter. This guy, he doesn't need to have the only visit he needs to have now is a prosecutor leveling another charge against him. That's
That's
it.
it.
All right, so let's get to some Black History moments before we give the answer to our trivia question. On this date in 1931, the Scottsboro Boys, 9 young African Americans, were falsely charged with rape and collectively served more than 100 years in prison. The right of African Americans to serve on juries was established by their case.
Mm. All right, so let's jump into, we are almost done with Women's History Month, but not yet. So on this date in 1931, civil rights crusader Ida B. Wells died. Okay, throughout Wells's career, well, let's call her Wells and Barnett because she was married. Career as a journalist, social political organizer, and suffragist, she worked with great fervor to end discrimination based upon gender and race. She was born a slave on July 16th, 1862, in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Her father, James Well, was a skilled carpenter, and her mother, Lizzie, was a cook. In 1878, Wells' parents and her youngest brother, Stanley, died in a yellow fever epidemic. At the age of 16 years of age, Wells Barnett was left to care for 5 younger siblings. As a result, she stopped attending Shaw University, got her certification as a teacher. Soon after, Wells Barnett moved to Memphis to work as an educator. And we know the story of Ida B. Wells, and we appreciate her. And part of why we're sitting here is because of her today.
Ida B. Wells, there you go. And our Black-owned newspaper of the day, we going down to Crawfish Town, Louisiana, New Orleans. Data News Weekly in Louisiana. Over 50 years ago, Joseph Scoop Jones started a weekly journal that chronicled the lives of Black New Orleanians. Scoop told stories that were traditionally ignored in the mainstream news, journals, and papers. He focused on news and information that was quintessential to New Orleans's African American community. Through it, crucial, breaking, and community-based story, especially during the civil rights movement. Data News Weekly was dubbed the People's Paper. Now, 50 years later, or more than 50 years, Data News Weekly maintains the title, the People's Paper, as the print and online publication continues to service the New Orleans community. How about that? Data News Weekly. Terry Jones is down there with the Data News Weekly. So, and put the question up one more time so we can put the answer up. The classically trained pianist and singer was monitored by the FBI for her radical politics to use her concert money, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all know the answer. Some of y'all got it right. It was Nina Simone. And that is our Black trivia for today.
My second choice, I was right.
Yeah, you were right. You were right. Nina
All right.
Simone, the great Nina Simone.
We got to get out of here, but I want to give a shout out to the Cincinnati Herald because they are covering the story for Lincoln Heights. That's another Black Press USA newspaper. So you definitely want to check out Cincinnati Herald to keep up what's happening in Lincoln Heights. And for the stories that are impacting and uplifting the Black experience 24/7, you want to head over to BlackPressUSA.com.
Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.